Welcome to your Inspirational Astrology Horoscope for Wednesday, May 23rd, 2024. I'm Astrologer Dave Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Well, thanks so much for checking this video out, but more importantly, if you are on High Vibe TV, you know I appreciate you, but if you're not on High Vibe TV, definitely join, be a member now on our apps and website. So much on there, of course, with all the content, all the shows. We are now doing History in the Stars that's out on YouTube to show people just a smidge of what really goes on at High Vibe TV every day and every week with all the different shows and, of course, all the different content. Be a member today. Definitely check it out. Also check out on High Vibe TV our store with all of our apparel and a lot of cool different products that I'm bringing out that are esoteric, stuff that I've collected here. I'm going to be ending the High Vibe TV studios that I've been at for coming up here now 7 years at the end of the year. So I'm going to be selling a lot of the collectibles I have here and moving more to like an executive office and not having the full event center and so forth. But I've collected quite a lot of stuff over the last decade. So definitely go check it out, highvibe.tv, and click on the HVTV store for all the cool apparel stuff. And of course, I'm putting up a lot of cool collectibles. Be a member if you want to be part of the community as well. Well, I hope that everybody's doing wonderful. We got a huge full moon here to talk about, and it's definitely a big one because of some massive conjunction energy, big sextiles, but more importantly, we're about to see the end of this Jupiter in Taurus transit, and it's being highlighted extremely with a huge Venus conjunction. So let's talk about it, go deep into the astrology. It's good to be with everyone. Thanks for being here. Let's take a look. We got a lot going on here. It is definitely a big moment for us. I don't even know what is going on with the surrounding. The white bar. Hold on one sec. I am a perfectionist. You can just enjoy for a second here the chart. I fixed it. All right. I was like, that would just look so unprofessional. Got Jupiter in my 10th, Venus in my 10th, a lot of stuff in my 10th. Well, the full moon in Sag. Jupiter's the ruler of Sag. Jupiter is at the very end of Taurus here, and Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is conjuncting it. This is quite a way to say goodbye to Jupiter in Taurus. And really, the most Taurus you're going to see in probably most of your life here. And I think that we have to remember, yeah, we're coming into Gemini and we're eager for that fast energy, but don't forget, Jupiter's at detriment in Gemini. So this is an interesting full moon because it's highlighting, well, what are we letting go of? All these belief systems, especially around like what we think is good and bad in ourselves. I think that we have to start to look at ourselves in a better way. I think that all the self-defeating, self-worth aspects, going all the way even into always trying to find a solution when there's simple things. I've been saying, because this is a full moon where the sun is going to trine Pluto in Aquarius. And remember, we will never see Pluto in Capricorn again while we're in Gemini, right? So it's not like we're going to see Pluto, Capricorn, full moon, and Sag. That was last year. That's not happening ever again. So this is one of those full moons, especially, don't forget, the next full moon on the solstice, and I'll be at Disclosure Fest. If you're not, go to Disclosure Fest. Definitely check it out. I'm going to be speaking and DJing. But there's 2 full moons in Capricorn after this. So let's really like celebrate this full moon. Let's not forget that the next couple sets of full moons are both in Capricorn, but more importantly, Neptune will go retrograde Saturn's going to go retrograde. And then we're coming into some Mars leaving Aries and coming into Taurus at its detriment. This is the peak full moon here. But it is one with Pluto in great aspect to this full moon and to the sun. And I feel like, this Aquarius energy, because Uranus is being disposited over in Taurus with Jupiter and Venus and Mercury, we have to remember that the solutions in our life are not as complex as maybe it might feel. The sun in Gemini is about our locality, our environment, and staying with basic facts. But with Pluto here also retrograde in Aquarius, I do feel like it is about, okay, how do we move forward here in a simple way? Well, I'm sure there's values that we all have. It's not about letting your values down, but it is about finding compromise. It is about finding ways to let things move forward without just holding on too much to everything has to be a certain way. Why? Neptune with Fortuna, the daughter of Jupiter, is an exact sextile to this Jupiter-Venus conjunction. Now with Fortuna, you never know where the wheel of fortune is going to land. So I would say, because Jupiter's in great alignment to his daughter, that it's going to look good. But we have to remember that Neptune is here in Pisces. So there is this compassion that must be found, this forgiveness. And so I feel like this is a moment of realizing that the best stuff in life is not the stuff that we fight so hard for. It's the stuff that we really forgive and find the good in things. And now when it comes to the crazy fucking shit out there in the world, there's stuff that, you know what? You can't forgive the people who do the most craziest, heinous crimes in the world. But when it comes to our personal lives, the full moon and Sag, it's this eager full moon. It wants to see the new quest. Where is it all going? Well, it's Gemini, and Jupiter's about to come into Gemini. Venus is about to come into Gemini. We need to remember that the facts cannot be created after a belief or a story. So what I mean by that is like all the stories you've been telling yourself that you've been holding on to, that this is hard to fix, or I can't find a solution to that, or that things have just felt like there's been some spark missing to how to connect all the dots in life. That's the story. That ain't the truth. So this is us letting go of the story, letting go of a lot of beliefs, especially with Pluto. There's a lot about this refreshing energy, especially all these air energies, and then having this fire energy with this full moon in Sag, and with Jupiter being in conjunction, the two benefics. Sure, this can be on the negative, too much of a good thing, right? Too much sugar or too much nicotine or whatever it might be. But really, it's when we take our values too far. Neptune here with Fortuna is saying, I'm watching to see who's the spiritual energies. Now, Neptune is in its home sign and Venus, the rulers of both their signs. So this is really positive, because how can we make our dreams, our imaginations, our visions come true? Well, we have to ground them. And so this is a full moon in Sag where the belief system has to come from a grounded place, a compassionate place, a place of empathy, but also something to where you're not trying to push so hard to where, are you just doing it all alone? Now, I know that everybody's like, follow the North Node, follow the North Node. Of course, with Mars, the ruler of Aries. So we've got a lot of energy in its rulers, domicile positions. Awesome. The problem, though, is that this Mars is a driving force of energy. It's not the leading force, right? So this is about driving the energy of, you know what? I understand my talent, my skill, but I also know that I have to go with the flow of how things are going. And if I'm, especially about people, relationships, like these are things that we have to find that we have still common ground on. And I guarantee you, you have more in common with people than you don't, right? But we've been so focused on the things that we've been divided by, Neptune 29 Pisces. it always brings up when the division has gone to its craziness, right? In the world, in everything. And we can't actually make things happen when we're so spiritually divided in ourselves and with other people. And that's what's interesting with Pluto here in Aquarius. We've got to find the nucleus of where we do have common energy and common factors. This is about going to create the new quests and stories. And if you notice too, Saturn at 18 degrees of Pisces, Pluto that's here at 2 degrees retrograde Aquarius, about to go 1 degree. We've been seeing this semi-square at 45 degrees, but now it's at 46, right? So, but it's gonna retrograde back Saturn, and Pluto's retrograding back and coming forward, so that semi-square is coming back. But this is where we're starting to turn from the Saturn-Pluto conjunction of 2020 in January and realize that the world has been fucking crazy, yeah. But we're starting to get a little peak around. And this is a moment for us to really use this Taurus energy to appreciate the great energy that we have that is possible, but also not to where we're trying to fight so hard to push it through. Neptune's about how things spiritually and naturally flow. And grace and the most beautiful energy, Taurus, have to come together. So that's a very etheric energy. And this, it's a full moon in Sag with Pluto. This is really, it's not a reset, but it's definitely a, you know what? This is where the facts are now. This is where the data point is of my life. This is the moment. Does all the things matter anymore that I was thinking was too much of a problem and I won't find a solution? Everybody's coming to this new chapter and being like, okay, like maybe you were into that and you were into that, or you weren't liking that about life and I wasn't liking that. But you know what? We have to start to go, where's the common energy now? Because if we're going to go create with Jupiter, Venus, it's a benefic. We have to find those values. But Uranus being there, that's the kicker, right? That's the hard one, because we always are going to have different points of view and different value systems. But this has also been amplifying this Uranian energy so much. And with Pluto already being in Aquarius, it's been amplified of like, it feels like the world's apart, or it feels like that nothing's going to work. Life always feels like that, like when you're trying to learn how to tie your shoe when you're a kid, it feels like you never get it right. And then eventually you don't even think about it anymore. We have to realize that we are at an amazing moment, the best of the astrology for this year, and even going into next year for most of the year. That this is this moment for you to really establish now, hey, you've made it to this point. There's a lot of things that are possible. There's a lot of headwinds, yes, that make it feel like it's difficult. But that's where we have to use that Mars in that North Node as the driving force of, okay, this is possible. And also with Neptune and Fortuna, what isn't possible? What isn't that spiritually important? What are the most spiritually important things? Because these, let's call it benefic gifts that the universe is having us understand, having us look at our understanding belief-wise spiritually, as they've got to be in alignment with spirit. They've got to be in alignment with a higher spiritual calling in your life, and they have to come from the natural spiritual path. So this is a moment in your life where if you're just trying to force something because you think it's a good idea, well, it doesn't have a lot of weight to it, right? But it is a time for stimulating ideas. But with Pluto, it's really about, okay, where does that connect with on a deeper level? This is also willing to look at the deepest part of ourselves and realize, you know what? Let's find to where the energy's lighter and let's move through. So this is about the positivity of letting go of a lot of heavy energy that you have in your value systems, finding compassion, finding resolutions, and moving forward. Okay? This is about like, okay, I'm done holding on to this territory spiritually or energetically that's not allowing things to work. I'm done doing my way of life that I'm holding this value system. I'm doing the best I can here, but does it have to be done that way anymore? This is rewriting so much of the script that we can still have that energy that makes it feel like it's the story, but even better. But we got to do some rewrites. That's what this big Gemini energy is going to be about. It's so weird because this full moon is happening at 6:53 a.m. Pacific, and on Wednesday here, and then right after, just following right after, it's really crazy. But we do go into Venus ingress into Gemini. Now, 12 years ago, Venus was retrograde, if y'all don't remember, in Gemini, and it was the Venus eclipse, the last of that happened on June 5th. But it was also Jupiter still in Taurus and moving in. And so we have to remember that we are now with the Sun and Venus getting really close, Venus leaving, being that, what have we been? We've been in the morning star, going into an evening star here as it goes through its dark passage, its inferior conjunction. This isn't a retrograde, but this is the Earth in opposition to Jupiter, the Earth in opposition to Venus. And so the Venus star point's coming. Now, if you think of your life 12 years ago, it might feel like it's similar energy, but it's not actually happening that same way, right? So there's a dualistic nature here. That what this full moon in Sag really is about is you letting go of the story of how you launched your quest 12 years ago and about your values, your self-worth, your relationships. How it's not going to repeat. Even though it looks like it can, it won't. That was the most potent Gemini transit of our lives. And will never happen again. So this Venus ingressing in to Gemini and with Jupiter trailing, we've seen this before, but it was a Venus retrograde. So Venus was an extended time being there. And it was also the Venus eclipse, the last one of just the 2004 and 2012, two one day moments. And in that day, just the very small moments that happened in June of 2004, 2012. I've talked about this quite a lot, but now this is bringing this up in the full, like, let's say the work's been done by the universe. It's time to actually start to look at the information, start to actually look at the data. It's time to do the rewrites, and we have to start to rewrite our life. Jupiter has been in front of now all the planets, which we have not seen for over 6 years, at least. Jupiter's been always looking at Saturn, been looking at Pluto, been looking at, oh, I got to come to all these planets, Neptune, Uranus, like it's over. Chiron. Like this is now Jupiter way looking ahead into the vast unknown. And I think that's a great place because this is now to where so much is possible. Jupiter-Venus conjuncting. Then of course, this full moon happens, Venus ingresses into Gemini, and then just within a day and a half, Jupiter makes its ingress on Saturday, the 25th, into Gemini. And that is all while both Venus and Jupiter will start trining over to Pluto. Now, let's not forget that last year when Jupiter ingressed into Taurus, it squared Pluto at 0 degrees. So this is a lot of positive Pluto aspects. Plus, remember, Jupiter and Pluto met 3 times in 2020. So again, this is really about now, dare I say, even though we are at a Pluto retrograde coming back into Capricorn, the new energy and new feelings about your life of 12 years ago, the launch, it's not going to repeat. But more important than that, on top of all that, since 2020, which also was a Venus and Sun, but that was a retrograde, right? Okay, so that was a Cazimi with a retrograde. Same with 2012, but that was an eclipse of Venus. And there was a solar eclipse in Gemini too. But this is like the moment where we actually stand on top of all that reconstruction and actually start to be stimulated about things, see the truth about things, and really start to walk with some confidence about life again, especially after 2012's energy. But even deeper than that, 2020. Because 2012 has been the part that maybe people forget about that created the instability that actually brought us to 2020. Saturn in Libra, opposite Uranus, Uranus and Jupiter conjunct. We just had Jupiter-Uranus conjunct. Let's remember that this full moon is also going to highlight the energy of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that finally they're going to split. And so this is the last moment of understanding, what has Jupiter and Uranus been about? Well, you have to look at your life and say like, okay, Where's the universe asking for me to upgrade in my self-worth, in my values? And how do I work and find how to energetically work with my talents and skills that I don't believe are good enough? And also that we are not going to all have the same values and the same belief systems, but we all have to still find the beauty and the grace and the common ground. Now, you don't have to, but at the same time, what are you missing out on at that point? Jupiter and Venus are about growing, and especially in Taurus, and now they're going to be moving into Gemini. So this is a full moon in Sag. Like, do you just want to keep keeping the same old story going? Do you want to just keep having the belief that you're not able to do this, that you have to stay in the job you don't like, that you can't find solutions, that you can't find resolutions? This is all about fighting those resolutions and not fighting. Right? The fight with this North Node Mars, there's a lot of fight energy. We got Hygeia close by here. Like this is about finding the right energy to heal and to do positive feeling, but Chiron's here. So there's a lot of healing that this ego's got to go through. And the ego is not going to be your friend. This whole follow the North Node, South Node, stay away. No, it's more like, don't let this Mars Rahu just let your ego think myself and myself only will fix everything. It's Pluto in Aquarius. It's Uranus that's dispositing in Taurus. Jupiter just met with Uranus, and Jupiter is still with Uranus until the 25th. This is the full moon that says the story's changing. You can feel it. And being of positive new attitude is going to be everything. And also, I know this might trigger some people who love Sag. I have a lot of Sag in my chart, but I'm not attached to it. My South Node is in Sag. Travel. Huge look at college campuses, education and schools like universities and all these things. Jupiter, Pluto met 3 times. Look, I've been telling you that you would see aircraft, you would see crashes, you would see the airlines get ruined. I've said this since day 1 of 2020, that you would see the university system fall. Look what's happening. Now add to it, this is the moment where it's like, do you need all these belief systems? Now look at the Catholic Church. Look at all the religions going crazy. This is where Gemini comes in about truth. This is why astrology is hermetic. It's not a belief system. This is your moment here to rewrite, and humanity's moment to start to rewrite. Not even maybe rewrite, to actually write what's actually who we are. Where do we come from? And that means in your life, like, who are you really? That's what Mars in the North Node is, and the healing that's taking place. Like, maybe you've waited for so long, especially I'm going to say for those people who just have always been scared to get out of that comfort zone to actually be who they want to be. Like, this is where it's like, and especially if you're not spiritual, and especially if you're in the system, like, this is your moment of like, shit, I better wake up now and look at the truth. And it doesn't matter who you are, though. This Fortuna Neptune conjunction in sextile to Jupiter, there's a lot of where this Wheel of Fortune is dropping onto us. But if you have too high of an expectation of how it's going to do, with Uranus still being here in Taurus, Mercury starting to close in on that, there's even just, if you look at these charts, like this full moon energy it's bringing up this, where have we gone too far with the value of the story? The stories have died. It's time to write the stories now. Right? Like, are you going to do another rerun, or are you going to write a new script? Are you going to just keep playing the same old tune with Neptune and Pisces and, just like, well, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing, or I'm going to keep doing the same party I do every year, the same this, the same that, the same thing I do every year, the same vacation I go on every year? That's boring. We're getting out of the energy of boring, but that doesn't mean that you need to be not empathetic and still find resolution. And it's not about conflict, but it's about not being afraid to get deep, have the conversations. This is going to be a time to where we have to find common ground. This isn't about just piecing out on energy and just being like, you know what, fuck you, bye-bye. Like, no, this is about finding Where can we find the common ground? That's how the light work is. This is where this Pleiades star cluster is. Venus is going to cross over this. Jupiter, just in the next days following this full moon. And allowing ourselves to realize that the drive, the ambition, the ideas, Mercury and Uranus are starting to close in on each other. This is it right here. So before we get into more retrogrades, before we come into big squares from all this Gemini energy to all the Pisces energy, this is the moment where things shift for you. You have to be willing to at least hold that and not be attached to the outcome of it looking a certain way. And also being willing to go, okay, where do I have to not concede, not quit, not do any of those kind of things? But where are there values that I can be a win-win with other people, with the circumstances in my life? That's where the most amazing things can happen. And it might feel weird because it's a little bit with this Neptune sextile over to this Jupiter-Venus conjunction and Neptune sextile with Fortuna to Jupiter. A lot of it is Spirit's watching. So you can't get away with I can get away with what I want without being a good spiritual soul at this moment in this time. If you're just going off your ego, you're really going off some sort of deep insecurity that you just are maybe too afraid to show people. Like, this is about being vulnerable. This is about being authentic. This is about just being real. Being yourself in an exciting way. There's nothing more exciting than somebody who's themselves. And this is where we're all having to be that truth that's coming around and letting go of the story that's got the chip on its shoulder, letting go of the story that doesn't find anything common with anything. Because even if you think, well, I'm so awake in life and nothing feels like it aligns with me anymore, and there's nobody on the planet that aligns with me, that's exactly the story that's causing you to be such an unhappy person. So I love it. But let's remember, Saturn's about to retrograde soon. Neptune, these two planets, they're not fully slowed down yet, but they're not going much farther. Uranus, definitely taking us up to 27 degrees this year. But Neptune's already at 29:30, and oh boy, that's just literally half a degree away from coming into Aries, which will happen next year. Pluto getting closer to coming back into Capricorn, and it comes quick by September 1st. Mars already halfway through Aries, moving really fast. Remember, all the planets are on one side of the zodiac in this trine within 121 degrees by the time the full moon's over and we see Venus ingress. But the moon, which isn't a planet, is hanging out, but it's going to now start waning in and bring over the next 2 weeks as we wane in for the next new moon that'll be in Gemini with Venus during the star point. This is a moment for us to realize that everything's being condensed. If you take a look at the helio, of course, if you're on high vibe, you already know this. We are in this dense moment with the sun at the center because the Earth has opposed Jupiter, it's opposed Uranus, and look at even Jupiter, Venus are making their conjunction from the Earth's point of view, from the sun, though, at the center, right? But from the sun looking at it, it's the same way. But Earth is 7 degrees of Sag, right? And Venus by the end of this week, this is by Monday the 27th, Venus here. Everything is on one side of the whole solar system. Mars and Saturn have just met. We've been through some really rough times of these last couple of weeks, trying to see this emphasis on the positive and so forth. And this is really where the mind is still trapped between, and it's quick. Mercury moves over 3 degrees a day. Okay. It takes 88 days to come around the sun. We end this whole week though, after the full moon, like, are we going to just keep beating ourselves up in our minds? Or are we going to find the positive attitude? Are we going to let things that maybe we put too much weight on that isn't that important, right? We have to reevaluate the importance of things. But the concentration, the energy, and the vastness of all this open energy makes us curious. It makes us want to go search, seek, and see the great adventure. Ironically, though, it's not by some far out thing you need to find. It's in your local environment. That's Gemini. It surrounds you. Truth can be found no matter where you're at in the world or the universe. It can be found out right where you are, on the toilet, watching me on your phone. So, you know, this is a moment where both charts, Helio and Geo, the concentration is getting extreme. And with Venus, that moves really fast, over a degree a day, we're just days away from this concentration on the Helio ending. So I just got to say that this is the week, this is the full moon, this is before the planets start to go retrograde. This is the great moment for you to really use this to launch your life in a much more positive way than you have 12 years ago. The fear of what happened 12 years ago in your life in May into June of 2012 is not going to happen. Although it is going to look like the fucking mirror is about to reflect that. It is not. It's you coming to terms with it and ending that higher mind that thinks that you know exactly this will happen again. It looks like the same signal. It's not. Similar, but it's not going to be that. It's not going to end that way. And we have to get out of this really negative place that it's no solution. There is no common ground. There is no stability. Well, stability starts within yourself. And stability really is now in the great gift of understanding the gratefulness that you have for all the things in your life and the beautiful things. And so there's an etheric beauty all over. It's just whether or not you're willing to see that, and you're willing to see that in others, and you're willing to see that in the choices that you make about where you use your energy, especially this life force energy of a Sun trine Pluto, Venus starting to trine Pluto, but a Mars in the North Node that have just completed and on its way to Hygeia and Chiron. Talk about some healing energy, letting the ego heal by not forcing, by not saying, this is how it's got to look. This is how it's going to be, right? There's got to be some sort of diplomacy here with the South Node in Libra, but it's about where you get what you want and others get what they want too. And being willing to be like, okay, maybe I didn't get everything, but I got a damn lot and they're happy. And actually this is probably better. Let yourself be surprised. Let yourself have the, conversation's going to be everything. Communication's going to be everything. But also staying focused in the environment that actually can make those things happen instead of you being scattered all over the place. Jupiter does not do well in Gemini. You're not going to be able to go on an adventure and take every little piece of things with you. Jupiter's now in its opposite sign. That detriment. By the time that we get out of this full moon and the day that follows. And actually when the moon's actually finishing its whole full energy, by the time it just comes into Capricorn, Jupiter comes into Gemini on Saturday. So we got quite a full moon here. The ethics are changing back to the truth of who you are. In many ways, this is the story bringing back parts of who you are, restoring parts of who you are, so you can go around write the new version on top of the versions of who you've been, the best versions of yourself, and continue back on that journey again. You have to be willing to see that, though. You have to be willing to get out of your own way and be willing to be at one with that version of yourself and at peace with whatever isn't going the way that you don't want it to be. That's your ego that is wounded as fuck. You never see a Jupiter Neptune sextile at 29 degrees with Neptune in its home sign of Pisces like this with fucking Venus conjunct. I'm telling you, this is like, God is not giving gifts like this ever. And it's within you and about how do you restore the faith of your connection to spirit by being an amazing human being down here and an amazing light worker and spiritual person that allows yourself to see the truth and not be so, I need to have everything, right? Like the greed will not get you shit. That's where Fortuna will throw that fucking wheel of fortune in the craziest space. All right, let's see what's in the cards for this full moon energy. Where did I put those cards? Oh, here they are. Well, if you're not on iVibe, when I do these sun sign horoscopes for everybody, I actually do them like Deep Love Tarot with a camera above me and everything, so you see me do it. Make sure that you are a part of HYPERGATE, but not using it right now. I just did History in the Stars with Dan. All right, what do we got here card-wise? And check out the HYPERGATE TV store. I'm telling you, I'm going to be selling a bunch of collectibles here at the studio. And got some awesome apparel and bringing out a lot of like women's cool, spiritual, edgy clothing and just rocking the high vibe energy. So I just see a random comment on YouTube right now. It's like, been struggling mentally and finding work. Wish I could move. So take this energy and realize, okay, do you have the understanding of the value? So the value is I need money and I need work. Well, the universe right now is saying you could aim a lot higher than that. So maybe it's not opening the door because your ego is thinking too small, right? You're thinking of it like, I just need work. I can't find it anywhere. Well, have you defined what you would really want to do? Like, what does your value system actually really want to do? What do you value the most? What do you feel like would connect you with your soul the most? Once you answer that question to yourself and you put that out there, that's what the universe is going to start to open the doors for. It's not going to open up the doors of like, I can't find work anywhere. It's not that you can't find anything anywhere or that it doesn't exist. It's just your subconscious Neptunian soul is not allowing yourself to put yourself through another position where it got you to the position that you're at right now. Hope that helps. So, and I wish you the best on refining the subconscious that makes you more conscious of how badass you are. All right, here we go. I wanted to give it a good flush because I did a lot of readings yesterday. Fucking. What do we got? Oh, we got a King of Cups. There's a lot of secure energy right now. Now, the King of Cups can deal with any emotion. And there's a stability about this. So, you know, Moon and Sag can be like creating the story or amplifying a story. We got to amplify the positive story and we got to amplify the story of just truth and realize like we don't know the whole story, but we're eager, we're optimistic to see what the truth will take us to, what the moment will start to take us to, and to be comfortable in that space. We got the Fool card. This definitely is this new story written. And it might feel like for many of us out there, like this is like a whole new chance for life. And it really is. It is the moment where the more blind we are to have to make sure that we understand everything, we don't have to understand it all. We have to understand the basics, the things that are of nutrients of good for the soul, and follow the truth and go for the quest that sees what it will look like. That's the most exciting shit ever. Live in that space. You don't need to understand it all. You just have to be emotionally secure with that understanding that we're at this new start in this new exciting way. Don't go backwards. Don't try to repeat your past. Go into the places you've never known and never seen the truth of fully yet. That's the best part. I appreciate you all very much. Make sure that you join highvibe.tv. Truly appreciate it. It's very simple. Go on the webpage or find our apps on any of the app stores and subscribe. I appreciate you all. Please share this video and I will see you on the next horoscope. Much love. Adios. Bye-bye.
Yo. Okay. Monster. Attention, please.